So here's a weird thing. I've received emails from two people named Madison about Jeff Bezos's name. Once was in response to us talking about what like his friends call him. Like, did they call him Jeff if you work at Amazon? And Madison wanted us to know that in fact at the fulfillment center where she worked, they called him J Buzz, but not to his face. I imagine he doesn't spend a ton of time around. And Madison confirmed that, saying that it wasn't really as if J Buzz was her boss so much as her boss's 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 boss, etc. I also got an email from Madison, a separate Madison, that wanted me to know that it wasn't Jeff Bezos, it was Jeff Bezos. And I don't know what I say. I don't know if I say Bezos or Bezor or J-Buzz or what. But I think that I generally say Bezos because I feel like that's what I hear the news people say. But maybe I said Bezos on the pod one time. I apologize to J-Buzz for mispronouncing his name. You know, I've heard that J-Buzz will still reads emails from customers, which I feel like once you let people know that, it's a problem. It's going to be an issue. So, I mean, I have things to say to J-Buzz. Would it be a bit like, would he be more likely to respond if I called him J-Buzz? Who knows? I don't. No one knows. No one could ever. Only J-Buzz knows. And so I want to say, hey, I have some issues with Amazon. One time I got a counterfeit memory card. It said that it was 64 megabytes per second or whatever, but it wasn't. It just had a label like put on top of another label. It was all lies, and it didn't work on my camera at all. And that was extremely inconvenient for me. And also, you have $130 billion, and people who work for you need food stamps. So like two problems. You just go at it, buddy. Whichever one you want to tackle first. So I have also gotten an email from someone who was not named Madison about Jeff Bezos, because we criticized him, I think, on the pod for thinking the only thing he could do with his $100 billion plus fortune was rockets, chips to, I don't know, to the asteroid. I don't know what we're doing with rocket ships. I'm a fan of rocket ships, don't get me wrong. But it does seem like the only imaginable thing that you could do with such a magnificent fortune is the only vision I can see. I got some other suggestions. Lots of other people do. I'm not going to go through them or anything, but I did think it was interesting the response this person had, which basically was to say, like, I depend on someone whose livelihood depends on the value of Amazon stock. And I imagine there's a lot of people like that, people who work for Amazon and who have a lot of Amazon stock, but not like a lot, not like Bezos, J-Buzz level stock. But yeah, and so I get that, and their point was like, well, if Beezer gets out there and starts to toss a bunch of cash at the ACLU and Planned Parenthood, people are going to start selling off the stock because they don't agree with his donations politically. I don't think this is why the Bees isn't donating his cash right now. There's a lot of great things. He could just give it to Meals on Wheels and nobody would complain. Like, there's hungry old people in America. That's not okay. It'd be an easy enough thing for there to find like a fairly bland, universally appreciated charity that everybody be like, yeah, good job. There's fewer people over 65 who don't have 3 meals a day. Good work, Beezer. And I don't think that's it. I think that an important thing to realize is that when we say that Jeff Bezos has a net worth of $130 billion, that doesn't mean he's got like a bank account, like a savings account with $130 billion lying in it. He's got a lot of Amazon stock. And so he owns a large piece of Amazon.com because he, at one point, I think probably owned all of it and then got investors and then he sold some of the stock to the stock market. And then a bunch of people, including, I gotta admit, me, bought some of it. And yeah, so we got this good old situation where a lot of the stock is owned by a lot of different people, but most, like the biggest hunk of it is owned by Jeff. And that's when, like, the fact that Jeff keeps making money, he's not making more money. He's not getting richer because Amazon's making money and it's paying him like this $1 billion a year salary. He's getting richer because the portion of Amazon.com stock that he owns is becoming worth more. And it's become worth a lot more over the last 10 years. And so he gets paid. He doesn't, like, this isn't his salary. It's not the money that he's getting. It's just like, I owned this block. Like, it's like basically like saying, look, I bought a book. I didn't even buy this. It was sent to me. Thank you to Joseph and Jeffrey. I bought a book, and I bought it for $29.99. That's an expensive. I don't know why it's such an expensive book. It's got a lot of pretty pictures in it. And then magic happened, and suddenly people realized it's the only one, and it's very important. The author, the person who made all the pretty pictures in it, died just in his sleep while he was cuddled next to his loving mastiff. So it wasn't that tragic or anything. Old guy. But he only made one of these books, and I bought it for $29.99. Let's say $100 so that it's less confusing. I bought it for $100 because I was like, I like Anthony P. Smith's art a lot. Anthony P. Smith and I knew each other, actually, but then it turned out that everybody in the world was like super into Anthony P. Smith. But I was the only one who had his book. And so suddenly, well, let's say that there's 10 of them. It's gonna be important for there to be 10 copies of this book. There's 10 books. They all sold for $100 because Anthony P. Smith sold them to all of his friends. Me and his 9 other best friends bought Anthony P. Smith's book of beautiful pictures. It was called Amber Catamounts. That's it's what some people call mountain lions, catamounts. Amber Catamounts, which is a beautiful title for a book. And so Amber Catamounts, there's 10 copies in the world, and suddenly they're very valuable. And Mr. P. Smith's friend, who's not me, let's just call that person Sandra, had that book, and then somebody was like, hey, I'll pay you $10,000 for that book. So suddenly, I now have $10,000 of new net worth because the market has decided that Amber Catamounts is worth $10,000. And then everybody sees like, like maybe somebody wants to buy my book for $10,000, but then they take it to an auction house. And in fact, it turns out that people are so into P. Smith's work that they're paying $1 million for Amber Catamounts. And so now suddenly I have a net worth of $1 million. This is what's happening to Jeff Bees. Just bees. This is what's happening to all of the bees that live inside of Jeff. He owned a thing that was worth $100, and now it's worth $1 billion. And that's not really that much of an exaggeration. He didn't get paid. He has this money. And I'm not saying that means that he can't do good things besides rocket ships with this money. Of course he can. But I think that's an important thing to recognize. The other thing is, interestingly, if I then sell my copy of Amber Catamounts for $1 million, I have to pay taxes on that. But I don't have to pay ordinary income tax on it. Because I don't know why, because I didn't work very hard for that money. I just got really lucky. And so the government is like, well, we don't want to tax people for being lucky, only for working hard. I think that the logic is that you want people to invest their money, and so you don't want to tax them on the gains that they get from their investments, especially because they might lose money. They might lose money on their investments, and so you're like, well, they took a risk. There's so many different reasons why I don't like this. But anyway, I have to pay 17% tax on my $1 million minus 10 that I made from Amber Catamounts versus having to pay 40% tax if I had worked for that $1 million. So Jeff Bees has all of this money, but he can't like sell all of the Amazon stock today. If he did that, the price of Amazon would decline substantially, and it would actually be a bad thing for the company. He doesn't want to do that. But you could, over time, sell off pieces of Amazon. You could even sell it to Amazon. You could also just sell it on the market. You could yeah, I'm sure lots of people would like to come in and buy big pieces of Amazon, but there's other reasons why Jeff might want to own a lot of Amazon stock. It might give him more interest in the running of the company. It might give him more power on the board or something. I don't know how Amazon works, but there are things like that where you don't want to sell all your stock because then you lose power over your company. But I know that he's got enough money that he could totally do good stuff with it. But I also know that if the Bees starts to pay everyone at his warehouses like $25 an hour, $30 an hour, like a really great living wage, then you would end up with an Amazon that's suddenly worth a lot less money. So while you might say like, well, you could pay all of your employees with your $130 million, suddenly he wouldn't have $130 million anymore. And this is how capitalists think. But like, if we're going to look at the simple things to make life a little bit better, look at people who are over 65 who aren't working anymore, who are living off of Social Security and Medicaid and basically need an extra meal a day. That we have that problem, and also people under the age of 18 who have the similar problem, like that we have that insecurity. This isn't not like it's not just a you should be able to eat food, you're an American thing. It's also you should be secure. You should have that level of security, especially if you're a child, I would say, though obviously I also feel like this is messed up for old people to be hungry, but not having that security of knowing where your food is coming from influences your ability to learn. It influences your, like, the level of stress you're experiencing, which has all kinds of negative impacts on a person's life long term. And so those investments aren't just investments in social good, they're investments in the future of the country. And I just don't see having the access to the level of wealth that I have access to, and to not be thinking about that, to not be thinking about how do we alleviate these now problems, as well as thinking about how to make the world a bigger, cooler, more awesome place in the future. Bees, I don't know that we're going to agree on a lot of stuff. But if you want to give me a call, I'll just email you this video. If you want to give me a call, we can talk about how Meals on Wheels works, how school lunch programs work, that kind of thing. And maybe we could work it out. That'd be great. I got a book coming out soon too. We're going to sell it on your store. It's called An Absolutely Remarkable Thing. It comes out September 25th. It's available for pre-order now on Amazon. But, if you want to get it on Barnes & Noble, why not? Or go to a Barnes & Noble. Or go to your local bookstore. I definitely would not encourage you to buy it from Amazon because I feel weird about Amazon. But that's a story for another day.